Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to Ghana Tonight. We're live Money News up here at Adesawe Kanda. Also live on TV Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. All across the world on 3news.com. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, has unveiled strategic interventions to safeguard public safety. Well, will this fuel positive perceptions of the Ghana Police Service? Well, he has been defending the police's image as against the issues of corruption that has been raised about the Ghana Police Service. Stay with us. Also, tonight, following the Office of Special Prosecutors report on the issues with the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority, we delve into corporate governance, La Bianca Company Limited, the matters arising, conduct of public officers. We'll get into that as well. Tonight, more than a week following Minister for Communications extension of the deadline for SIM card re-registration, we reflect on the current state of affairs and how the momentum for the SIM card re-registration can be sustained. We have industry experts joining us this evening here on Ghana Tonight. Remember, we are very, very interactive this evening as well. And also would have the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Odrosai. He's going to be joining us as we have a conversation about the fight against corruption in this country. Stay with us. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. The Movement for Truth and Accountability has petitioned the Office of Special Prosecutor to probe separate claims of tax evasion and money laundering involving some Ghanaian companies. Former Attorney General and one-time Special Prosecutor Martin ABK Amido has accused President Akufo-Addo of abusing his constitutional powers by manipulating state security and intelligence institutions to promote the interests of the New Patriotic Party. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, says the police is committed to improve their services and meet public expectations.
Intelligence is everything. When you get intelligence right, the whole way is reduced in terms of any other thing that you do.
Heads of health training institutions have suspended the 2022-2023 admissions following a directive to reserve 30 admission quota for the health ministry. The ministry is yet to provide detailed explanation about the objective of its quota admission policy. The Alliance for CSOs in the extractive sector has kicked against government's decision to sole source the relocation of the Ameri plant to the Ashanti region. The Alliance tasked government to explore alternative means of providing power rather than relocating the plant to save cost. A banking consultant has called for an emergency meeting by the Bank of Ghana to immediately halt the rise of inflation, which is currently on an upward trend. The July rate of inflation is 31.7%, which is the highest since 2003. You'll find more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. I am Alfred Okansi. Now, the IGP, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, has been reacting, and this is not the first time he's done this, to surveys that rank the Ghana Police Service as the most corrupt institution in this country. According to him, there may be a few bad nuts in the service, but the police will not accept that they are the most corrupt. You remember the Afrobarometer survey ranked the police as the most corrupt in terms of perception, and also the Ghana Security Service Shraj report brought some reality to it as well, ranking it as the Ghana Police Service as the most corrupt institution. He has questioned the methodology and the approach that was used by these two. But what's the reality of the situation on the ground? Take a listen to the IGP. He was addressing a lecture, or delivering a lecture, that's a Kwame Nkrumah University of Science Technology, KNUST, earlier today. And he's been consistent about his position. Take a look.
You say we are corrupt. Thank you. A problem identified is half the solution. We've never said that they are not a couple of people who are doing things in a corrupt way, punishing the illegals. We've never said that. We are doing all what we can to handle it. But we will never accept the fact that we are the most corrupt institution in the country. It is unfounded. Because all those researchers have challenged methodologies. And at the appropriate time, we'll keep responding to them. But we also will keep working on the things that people over the years have used it against us and make us feel so uncomfortable when it comes to the issue of corruption. And when we get there, we will surely know that we are right. And we will get there. That I can tell you.
Well, you're still live here on Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. That's the Inspector General of Police, IGP. He is raising questions continuously about the corruption tag that has been put on the Ghana Police Service, which, as a matter of fact, predates him as an IGP. But he talks about measures that have been put in place. Let's do this a bit further. I've been joined via Zoom by the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Security and Disaster Studies. He's also a research fellow at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He is a research fellow at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Ghana Tonight.
You're welcome, Alfred.
Great. First of all, so this is not the first time the IGP is raising questions about those that are tagging the police with corruption. Yes, this is how he feels as an IGP, but should he dismiss the details of the surveys that capture the perception and experiences of the public about the police itself?
No, I think the IGP is in a very difficult situation. The first situation is that he came out to say the police is born again in February this year, and that because they are born again, they're not going to do corruption anymore. So we have one prong of his challenge, that the born again hypothesis. Then the letter he wrote against the Afrobarometer is that other similarly situated organizations were not included in the review. And because of that, he says that our discomfort is the selective use of ranking methodology to project the outcomes in a manner that puts an unfair focus on Ghana Police, with all the others in your corruption index escaping public scrutiny. So that is the second arm of his hypothesis. And he cannot reconcile the born-again hypothesis because it was just in February that he said, the police, clap yourself, we are no longer corrupt. And now there is an credible, overwhelming study that says when you combine those who think some of the police, all of them, and most of them, it's about 89% of the Ghana police that are corrupt. This finding is actually very consistent with all the findings of all research that have been conducted about Ghana police and corruption. What he should do.
And before we get into what he should do, he says that, look, posterity is going to judge anybody who holds this view. I mean, that's in the speech that he gave today, that for him, he's consistent about the overly blown out perception about the police being corrupt. He says is not consistent with what the reality of the situation may be on the ground.
No, but you see, I can side with him a little bit. Being basically the ambassador, the brand ambassador of Ghana Police, he has to project Ghana Police in the most positive light possible. And so what he said in February, when he appealed to the people of Ghana to let go our past, when he said, we are pleading with you, Ghanaian public, to let go of our past and let us be. We understand we lost your trust, we lost your confidence and your respect, but we are going to bring them back. All these statements confirm that Ghana Police has historically been corrupt. So from February to today, if you want to change the paradigm, we're going to have to shift the paradigm into a police force that is pristine. The time lag between being born again in February and now is not long enough for them to have developed that pristine kind of psychosis to stop the corruption.
I see.
Corruption is a social virus disease. Once you get infected, it stays with you until you go through systemic changes. And that hasn't happened as yet.
To think that the IGP enjoyed a lot of goodwill when he was announced by the president and eventually appointed, how come that goodwill did not impact on the image of the police and what he has been doing over the period?
The Ghana Police is a big organization, more than maybe close to 30,000 people. The IGP, no matter how good he is, cannot represent the Ghana Police mentality and culture and ethos. So what he's doing is basically a drop in a bucket, like a little drop in the middle of the ocean. He may not be corrupt, he may not be, but he cannot say the same thing for all the policemen that are working under him. To do that will be actually a delusional kind of situation. I listened to what he did today. I have friends that invited him to Turkey today. I think the IGP has good intentions, which he should have. He should motivate his people to better performance. But he cannot expect that just because you want it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. And all the things that he says he's put in place, we, the people, we need to know, we need to see, to use it to judge, to evaluate, because we pay their salaries. They are accountable to us, even though we also give them the power to arrest us when we do bad things. Indeed. So I think the IGP is a bit in a dream world, not to be insulting, but rather to describe, to characterize what is going on. He's in a bit of a dream world. I think IGP doesn't want to accept, as most Ghanaians don't want to accept, that we are a corrupt group of people. But what is the fight about that the IGP is carrying on? This study, the Afrobarometer study, the Chirac study, covered the presidency, covered the judiciary, covered almost every big institution in Ghana. Does Dr. Dampare think that Ghana Police is superior to the presidency, to the parliamentarians, to the chiefs of this country? Oh, no. I think this is where the delusion comes in.
I see. Now, any effective, you talk about he being delusional about the professionalism of his men, over 30,000 of them, but any effective policing system rides on the support and collaboration with and of the public. So what should the IGP's posture be towards such surveys that capture the views of the people about the service that he's leading?
I think the IGP should be humble enough. He has taken a very ostentatious standard that Ghana Police is not corruptible. They are. He should meet the study writers and ask for advice. He should be humble enough to come down from where he is. He's a little bit highfalutin. He needs to come down to the level of the average man and woman on the street that use police services. September last year, we did a study. The finding was 85% Ghana police corruption. So this is very, very consistent over the years. So let the people help him to build the kind of police force we all want, not just him. Because if it is only him that wants the Ghana police to be pristine, to be well-behaved, to be professional, it's not going to work.
Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you so much for your time this evening.
You're welcome.
Do this very quickly. Dr. Ishmael Norman there, he's a security analyst. But Dr. George Akuffo Dampare has been consistent about this resistance of that corruption tag on the Ghana Police Service. There's been suggestions that, look, if that's the position, the police itself should also conduct its own survey so they get to know what the people think about the service. But beyond this, in that speech that he delivered today, he said a number of things, including the establishment of regional intelligence centers. Regional intelligence centers. Very, very interesting proposals that he makes there. And I want you to take a listen to the details of these regional intelligence centers that Dr. George Akuffo Dampare talks about in this one. Take a look.
Regional intelligence departments across all the police regions, because intelligence is everything. When you get intelligence right, the whole work is reduced in terms of any other thing that you do. And some of the intelligent people, if I tell them the things that they do, it will not work. So whenever you take some of the taxis, you never know who is driving you. A thief tell you. And whenever you take an Okada, which is not legalized, but because you are penetrating, you never know who is on it. But the point you want to make is that for your sake, we are everywhere watching and keeping the bad guys at it. The other thing, on the same stretch that we are doing, is the cultivation of informants across the country. And the pool of informants that we have, which we have commercialized, and what I call cash and carry, you will make sure that you bring the information is authentic, you operationalize the information, you get the results, come from the 1,000 up to 50,000, because that is how committed we are in protecting.
So raising an army of informants, cash and carry, you bring information, then they pay you for it, 1,000, 2,000 cedis. That's what Dr. George Akuffo Dampare is talking about. So then you get information, you know you would be rewarded either with cash when you give information to the Ghana Police Service. Another issue is the protection for whistleblowers and some of these people who will be volunteering information to the Ghana Police Service, because that's been an issue for a while now. People want to volunteer information, but their safety is also of utmost importance to them. This establishment of Regional Professional Standards Bureau is one that the IGP intends to put in place as well to address issues of professionalism or unprofessionalism on the part of the Ghana Police Service. Commercialization of informants across the country. That's the one he talks about, with rewarding informants with cash and carry informants. Strategic plan for crime hotspots areas. These are some of the highlights that he put out in that speech. Now, also, not just that, but also the establishment of the unique and special units. Example, missing persons unit. He talked about the establishment of a cold case unit for the investigation of murder cases. There are a number of unresolved murder cases in this country. And that's what the IGP is talking about, the establishment of this cold case unit. But the IGP has also been talking about the need for people to prioritize their personal security. That's what it's a shared responsibility. Take a listen to that.
We should individually have a security mindset. We don't have it. We have totally outsourced our security to somebody else and minding our own business. That is why in all economic textbooks before until recently, security was never an issue. All the factors of production, factors of socio-economic development, you never saw security until recently. People are trying to do research and trying to look at the analysis between socio-economic development and security. In the same way, because of our lack of security mindedness, we will build communities, and when we finish with all the land, then we claim we need police. And when we come around, we are not finding land. They say, let's find some container and put the policy. When did we become a couple? Lack of safety mandate. When you get that consciousness and you apply it, you keep going in it and become a master of it. And then you can then handle every situation around you.
Well, so that's the IGP announcing raft of measures to improve on policing in this country. But remember, you have a role to play as well. In the end, what is the image of the Ghana Police Service now? How is he also going to correct that perception that the people have about them? Stay with us. This is Ghana Tonight. Right after this, guess what? The twists and turns of the LaBianca Company Limited and matters arising. We'll get into it as well this evening, because now the Ghana Revenue Authority Commissioner General himself has made statements previously about how the Customs Division itself has some leakages in there, which is causing us to lose precious money that we need at this time. We'll recall that. And Dr. Eric Odrosai, who is the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, IA, is going to be joining us. Also, the SIM card registration after the extension of the period, the queues are no more. But we have just 6 weeks to the end of that deadline. I would have some experts joining me as well on this matter, how the momentum for the registration of SIM cards can be sustained within this period and not just some 2 weeks before the deadline. We see pressure mounting on the systems due to the increased queues in this area. Stay with me. This is Ghana Tonight. We will be back shortly.
I'm going to interview Zuzum right here in my house. Hey!
Look up there. Why are you using inferior pen?
It was a mistake. I no check.
Acrobat, I'm going to knock you out.
I know, sir.
You deserve quality.
Don't make mistakes. Stop!
You did the right thing.
When you are going to buy a paint, don't look left, don't look right. Go straight and grab the luxury acrylic paint. No be any paint, be paint.
The luxury acrylic paint.
Paint me champion.
It's about to get more sporty with a touch of super entertainment with your favorite stars.
Times we play the Quitinge, the Chaskele, the football.
Who should I take? Tony Cruz?
Cruz?
Why?
While keeping you up to date with every trending issue in your world of sports on Warmer Plus.
But in comes Thomas Tuchel and everything changes. And when he said he wanted to be better than me, I was happy.
Let's keep it more sporty and super entertaining.
Warm Up Plus now shows on Saturdays at 11 a.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Betway.
What I'm holding here has the potential to help save 10 million lives.
Unicorn Hunters is looking for that next billion-dollar idea from entrepreneurs.
We're searching for that billion-dollar business, a unicorn.
Far UV Technologies has developed Krypton disinfection lighting.
Our technology now has the ability to predict health outcomes and save lives.
What concerns me? Your lack of ambition. 70 million in 3 years? That's not much.
I love supporting small business, but is this a big enough market?
Do you see yourself on the acquisition path in the near term, or do you prefer to take this company to IPO?
I must show you one more thing.
There's more?
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
I'm in.
I'm definitely in.
And I'm going to invest.
Unicorn Hunters premieres on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. on TV3.
Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV Ghana on Facebook, DSTV, channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. After the deadline for the SIM registration was extended after July 30 deadline to September 30, we've seen the queues reduce at the registration centers. We went to the Elwak Sports Stadium, for instance. It's a very drastic decline in the long queues that characterize the Ghana card acquisition, for instance, which is the source document for the SIM card registration and a number of things we're going to be seeing in the future. Now, prior to the extension of the SIM registration, the crowd that we saw there is not comparable to what we are seeing now. And over time, we've had 2 deadlines extended for the SIM registration. We always see less than 2 weeks for that deadline to elapse. You see the huge crowds massing up at these areas. Questions have been asked about how the process of the SIM registration can be sustained even after an extension. So that's the conversation this evening. I've been joined via Zoom by the Director of Africa Digital Economy Forum. That's Derek Barnabas Lai. Also, Nyenye George Anda is a former Deputy Communications Minister in this Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration, and also well-vexed in the communications and telecoms industry with many, many years of experience. He's also joining us via Zoom. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having us.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. Good evening to your viewers.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you. But let's take a look at what happened at the Elwak Sports Stadium. What's happening now with respect to the acquisition of the Ghana cards and the empty seats every day?
Across many facilities in the city, you find that where they are doing the SIM registrations, whether it's the service outlets for the service providers or even the agents, most seats or all these outlets look empty.
You don't have time for it. That's why you delay to come the last minute. When they say any new thing, you make sure that you to be among the first 10 or the first 5. And that's my advice for them.
I lost my card not too long ago. I was going to register my chip when I lost it. That was last week. But I was hoping that the driver would bring it back, but he didn't. So I have to rush to this place to get a new card. I was issued a receipt to come back in a month's time.
Number of people thronging this place have significantly reduced, which is also affecting our registration work as well.
The Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications is worried that customers are not taking advantage of the extended deadline for the SIM card registration.
As July was approaching, the very last week, we then saw a lot of people then rushing again. And for us, it's the discomfort of the customers themselves.
Well, that's the reality faced with then what's happening at the moment at a number of these centers, in fact, all of them across the country. We'll see the crowds massing up just 2 weeks before the deadline. And remember, a number of punitive measures have been announced. Also, an app was supposed to have been launched about a week ago. We haven't heard anything of that. Mr. George Anda, thank you for connecting with us on Ghana Tonight. First of all, what can be done to sustain the momentum for this SIM registration, even within this period that the deadline has been extended? We've seen the low patronage and the empty seats that we just saw. What's the solution? Hello, Ms. Anda, if you can unmute for me.
Thank you.
Great.
Good evening once again to your viewers, and good evening to my brother Derek. I think the first thing that needs to be done is that the education of the citizenry must be stepped up. You would realize that whilst the minister had announced the SIM registration process, some people were giving out wrong information and giving reason for people not to go and register their SIMs. This issue about the Ghana card being the source document. And the last time that I had an opportunity to be on your station, I did lay emphasis on the fact that this process is fully backed by law. Our friends in the NDC know very well that the SIM card registration process, per the airline that they pass themselves, establishes that the Ghana card must be the source document. So I think that misinformation that certain people are going out and saying that the SIM registration process is not backed by law, and that if your SIM is not registered within a certain time, the minister has no powers, or the regulator has no powers to yank your SIM off the system, is totally misinformed. Now, that said, as far as the process itself is concerned, I believe that the operators and the regulators have done a lot to encourage people to register their SIMs. Early in April, there was a bit more chaos, and the systems that were put in place, the additional services, additional touch points that were put in place for people to be able to register their SIMs have made the process much more seamless. I think that what needs to be done beyond the education is that there are certain people who, per the data that's available, who have got their Ghana card, but haven't linked their Ghana card to their SIMs. I believe that if the two systems are talking, we should be able to identify individuals who have SIMs or who have telephone numbers but haven't registered these SIMs. Right. But they have access to a Ghana card. And there must be some way of reaching out to these people and prompting them to register their SIMs. There's also another bucket of people that have linked their Ghana card to their SIMs, but have not gone the step further to make sure that their biodata is captured to complete the registration process. And I believe that this group of people too must be reached out to, and then messages sent to them, or there must be some communication to these people that they need to complete the process of registering their SIMs. The measures that the Honorable Minister announced about some of the services being denied for people that haven't been having completed their SIM registration process. I believe that if those things are put in place, as the minister has given indication, it will help. But most importantly, I think our friends from the media, you have a big task as far as educating Ghanaians to register their SIMs. You said yourself a day to the deadline that was extended by the Honorable Minister, there were long queues. As soon as the minister announced the extension, these queues have literally vanished, and that's not a great way of doing things.
Well, granted, but even though, yes, that's indeed the case, but you would say that it's a human phenomenon, isn't it? We saw the extension after March 30. It was the same incident that happened. We saw the empty chairs. Then 2 weeks before the July 30 deadline, we saw the people massing up. But the proposal that you're making, which I want to put some emphasis on, is that you're proposing that there has to be a system that the NCA or the NIA systems can be talking directly to the NCA systems so as to be able to bridge this gap at least. That's the proposal that you're making.
Well, I believe that the systems are able to talk. You see, the thing is that when you go for your Ghana card, you have to put in a telephone number, okay? Mm-hmm. So there's data available that shows that for this person owning this Ghana card, this is the number that he or she can be reached on. And as far as technology is concerned, it must be possible to be able to identify those that have a Ghana card that haven't linked their Ghana card to their SIM cards, and those people must be reached. Okay, so that's one bucket of people that we need to deal with. The second bucket is those that have done the linkage between their Ghana card and their SIM cards, but haven't taking their biometrics. That's another bucket that we have to deal with. And then the third bucket is those that don't have the Ghana card at all. And I guess that one is a separate discussion because it's not, you cannot necessarily say that it's the fault of the individual. If the person has applied for a Ghana card but hasn't got access to complete the process, or his or her Ghana card hasn't been issued to him or her, then you cannot just say that it's a deliberate attempt not to register their SIMs. But for those that have their Ghana cards issued to them, they need to initiate their action to complete the registration process. For those that have done the first part or the first phase of the linkage and haven't yet completed the process, that is also an action that requires the owner of the SIM to complete the process.
I see.
So yeah, though the system should be able to talk and isolate these people and reach out to them and give them direction on how to go. And I guess that the media support with like programs that you're doing now, educating people, correcting the misinformation that was put out there would help. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Honorable Minister cannot keep extending the deadline after several extensions. I mean, after a whole year, if people are not registering their SIMs, not because they don't have the Ghana card.
Right.
Okay, like I said, those that don't have the Ghana card, that's a separate issue.
That's separate. But let me bring in Mr. Laye now. Derek, so beyond what the media is doing, which we're doing now, highlighting some of these instances, right? What are the interventions that can be put in place to ensure that, yes, the deadline has been extended, we are not new to this phenomenon of people waiting to at least 2 weeks before the time to go and register. So the specific interventions, also what we're talking about. I think we've lost Derek Barnabas Laye. We connect with him again to seek his views quickly on this. But Mr. Anda, let me stay with you. Just last week, at least, according to the minister, last Tuesday, we were supposed to have an app launched, which was a technological intervention to address this, so people don't have to necessarily turn up in person. And that's what we're saying. So yes, people are not turning up, there are empty seats, but then the technological intervention was going to ensure that people are still going to register or re-register their SIMs within this period. So why haven't we heard of this app? And how long do we have to wait?
Well, I'm not sure that you are directing the question to the right person, but I would suspect that there were some issues that were being discussed in social media as to, for example, how people could bypass the process using an API and stuff like that. So maybe there are some bugs that are being fixed. I don't have the right information on that. I can only just speculate. I'm not privy to the reasons why the app has not been launched. But like you were saying, yes, for the people that want the extra convenience, this app was supposed to serve that purpose.
I have Mr. Barnabas Laye back on the telephone. That's on Zoom, unfortunately. Yes, if you could turn your video to the upside down so that we're able to get you correctly, that will be good. All right.
Is that okay?
They should be good. Okay. So I was asking about the specific interventions that can be put in place now that we are seeing the empty chairs. We don't have to wait till 2 weeks before another deadline, September 30, before the systems are jammed up because lots of people are turning up. What can be done within this period?
So, Alfred, I agree with Honorable George based on some of the positions and the points that he made earlier on, that there are different categories of people. And I think the first thing that we need to do is to look at the data. What is the data stating or what's the data saying? Because when you understand what the data looks like, who has a Ghana card, who doesn't have, who has linked and hasn't done their biodata stuff, then you can be able to understand what level of interventions you need to make. But the most important point I need to place on record is that it's very difficult to legislate human behavior. And for projects of this nature, I have always been of the position that if you tie projects to extensions and deadlines, you're going to have the scenario where there are three different groups of people right now. There are people who genuinely want to register but cannot register because they live by the day, and by the day they have to spend time to do the things that can put food on the table. There's that group of people. There's also that group of people who basically have made time and have been able to register. And then there's a group of people who generally don't want to register, but they want to have a lot of people like them, because the number of people you have, then you have to keep extending deadlines, or have to keep basically pushing the deadlines as you have it, because you cannot take 10 million plus people off the network. That would be a very difficult thing for the government to do. And then the other point really is the fact that there are other interventions that can be explored, but it's important that the data is shared and the data is clear on the face of basically what the status quo is right now with regards to the project, so that we can encourage people. I think a lot more encouragement is required. It's not really about waiting for the final days to basically start yelling, we're going to be taking the people off, or basically start coming at the people. But I think that even constantly, I think the media, I think this is a very good conversation. Having this conversation alone can provide some awareness for people, because we want to see everybody included in the process. We want to be able to ensure, we want to be able to see a country where nobody is excluded by virtue of the fact that they genuinely couldn't, or there were system challenges that could not enable them, or the fact that they could not even acquire a Ghana card. So I think that at this point, what for me is really required is that there should be some sense of a data report. If by the middle of this month, we can get to see the different categories of people who have Ghana cards and have not done the linking, those who have done the linking are yet to get their biodata captured, and then those who generally have not gone for the Ghana card at all, so that we can have a sense of what numbers we are playing with. Because at the end of July, we got to know that there were 26 million unregistered SIM cards. But I'm sure some of them might be in different categories. But it's important to have the data, because if we have the data, then it will also be able to enable policy, enable the regulators, be able to proffer the right kind of intervention for the next steps that needs to happen. But then also, I think that it's a question of also budgetary constraints for the service providers. Do they have to even consider doing door-to-door registrations? Are they doing it right now? What's the state of all of those things? Because you need to be able to support people to ensure that we can capture them. I think that that's really the point here right now. Or else if it's just about the deadlines, when the deadlines pass, people just go back and go and wait for the next deadline. And I don't think we'll make any headway with the project.
You talk about the people with genuine concerns, because for as long as the Ghana card remains the source document for this exercise, if you don't have it, you cannot go through it. And the last time we checked, we have well over 2 million people yet to receive their Ghana cards. That's something that should be factored into the conversation about whether there's going to be an extension of the deadline or not, isn't it, Derek?
Indeed, that needs to factor into. And you see, for me, I think that there are a lot of questions that need to be answered at this time as well. Because for me, one of the major concerns I have right now is the minister promised that on Tuesday, which was basically the 2nd of August, there was going to be an introduction of an application, a mobile application. I don't know whether it's going to be, it was also going to be web-based, that should support people to do self-registration in the comfort of their homes, and they had to pay 5 cedis. Well, there was a whole hula baloo about even paying 5 cedis. But the point is that as of today, that app is absent. And I believe that the presence of the app also fed into the minister's new deadline. And so with the absence of the app, and considering the fact that we are already in the 10th, or we're heading into the 10th, 11th day of the month, I think it is important that at this point, maybe I might not even want to start talking about deadlines, because it still will feed into people's laxity to want to go and get what state of the registration they need to get to and get it done. It's going to basically make people a lot more relaxed. But I think it is important that we get everything we need present, and we get every tool and every requirement present and available, so that people do not have the opportunity to make any excuses whatsoever. But for me, really, I think that people need a lot of encouragement and a lot of awareness, a lot of education needs to keep going down, because we don't need to, when the way the NIA is structured, it cannot take on the loads when the people rush in there like that. So I think at this point, between the NIA, between the NCA, between the service providers themselves, they should be encouraging people. Numbers that have not gone through certain stages, the telcos will know. It's important that they are triggering text messages, they are creating awareness and continuously forcing, or for the ones that we were creating a lot of pressure on the users, so that they will be able to take action. Without that, it will be very difficult, and we're going to have the same scenario. Not because people genuinely don't want to for a lot of for the mass numbers, but it's generally because of the way human behavior is, and also the point about how we are structured and how people live with the economic day-to-day running and all of those things. Yeah.
Right. Important point that you make there about the dynamics involved in all of this. We have just a little over 6 weeks for the deadline that was communicated to also elapse. But the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, Dr. Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe, also spoke on this, and the proposed use of this app for the SIM registration and the delay in launching it, how that's going to impact on the process. Take a look.
You then are in the process of testing, a big bug hits you, you have to go back again and redo everything again. So I think we should be a bit patient with the developers of the app. I'm not too sure that the app is the panacea. The panacea is getting the Ghana cards into the hands of people, and I would urge again that governments provide a lot of resources to the NIA so that the NIA can go to the various centers.
Well, so that's Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe there. And Ms. Anda, finally, we should also be focusing on the Ghana card for as long as it remains the source document for this exercise. If you don't have it, no matter the deadline, you should not be punished for that situation, isn't it? I mean, if you don't have the Ghana card through no fault of yours, and there's a September 30 deadline just 6 weeks away, it would be unfair to punish anybody when that deadline elapses, isn't it, Ms. Anda?
Well, I think that for those that don't have the Ghana card, through no fault of theirs, as you have stated, it will not be proper to yank them off their networks when the deadline expires. I think that we should understand that there are three key stakeholders in this whole ecosystem. So there are the subscribers, there are the mobile network operators, and then there's the government as well. There are a lot of services that run through the mobile networks or through the platform of the mobile networks. There are a lot of activities, including e-levy, that the government is interested in. There's a revenue from expected taxes from the mobile network operators that the government is dependent on. There are people whose daily lives are based on the activities that they perform on their phones. Those that are selling things online, those that are posting things online, those that are doing deliveries, making orders, making phone calls, checking on family and friends, running their businesses from their phones and stuff like that. So yes, it would be a bit difficult to yank these people who haven't received their Ghana card, in quotes, through no fault of theirs. But like Derek and everybody is saying, there are also two significant buckets of subscribers that need to be motivated, need further education, needs to be pushed, and maybe to some extent need to be slightly inconvenienced and given a notch to register or to complete the registration process. So right. Those two buckets are those that have linked their Ghana cards to their SIMs, okay, but haven't gone to the service center or haven't gone to the institutional registration place to complete the registration process of having their biodata being captured.
Okay.
Then there are those who have received their Ghana cards and having linked their SIMs to their
Absolutely.
Ghana Card report. And of course, like Derek said, they are the very difficult people who have the Ghana Card and are just being difficult. The Stubborn Academy people. Those people, they
anyway,
need to be motivated.
Thank you.
They need to be talked to, and the need for their behavior to change.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Appreciate it always. And
most welcome, sir.
Derek Barnabas Lai is a director, Africa Digital Economic Forum, and then also George Anda is a former deputy communications minister with extensive experience in the telecom sector, not only in Ghana, but across the continent, indeed, global. And then also in there, giving us some analysis of what the situation is with the SIM registration. But stay with us, just a little over 6 weeks. We'll keep monitoring the situation and be updating you as well. But let's go into corruption. Corruption, finally, before we go. Now, successive reports on corporate governance in the state-owned enterprises have prompted questions about influence peddling. And we saw this influence peddling highlighted by the Office of Special Prosecutor in the latest report on the LaBianca Company Limited and the understatement of the tax revenue to the state to the tune of a little over 1 million cedis. According to the Office of Special Prosecutor report, that money has been repaid or refunded by the said company. But that's influence peddling. Influence peddling or trading of influence is a form of corruption in which a person uses his other position or political influence to gain unmerited favor. That's what influence peddling is. But what does the Constitution say, for instance, about public officers involved in corruption? That's it, Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution. A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal, in this case, his or her personal, if you want to make direct reference to this LaBianca situation, and then also the member of the Council of State who is representing the Western region and a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority Board, a public officer shall not put himself or herself in a position where his or her personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. That's what's there. Article 284, it's quite clear, English language. Nothing convoluted about this. But I have the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency joining us on this. Very, very important conversation because we need every CD we can get. Dr. Eric Odrosai, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening.
Great. So, are there specific laws to check influence peddling amongst public officers or politically connected people in this country?
Thank you very much. Definitely, there are specific laws and policies in public administration that checks influence peddling. And the law you quoted, the section of the article you quoted, that is Article 284 of the Constitution, is the foundation. And this article prevents public officers from putting themselves in a position that their personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of a function of that office. So once you put your personal interest above the overall interest of the nation, to some extent, you have violated the Constitution. And that chapter is Code of Conduct for Public Officers. So clearly, there are laws that prevent this from happening. But yes.
Yeah, you know, you quote the law so copiously. So why is it not checking this? I mean, why continuously have people using their positions of office and their political influence to violate this law that you have just quoted?
The law is checking it, but we have institutions. You know, the law on its own cannot bite without institutions acting. That is why we have state institutions that are responsible for making sure that, look, these laws are implemented. So we have an institution that should investigate. Once you do the investigation and you have evidence to support prosecution, you do that prosecution. The challenge we have in our country is that The laws are there, and state institutions that are supposed to implement those institutions are not implementing them as they ought to be. That is the fundamental challenge we have as a country. But we have laws in this country that checks all of these to prevent public officers from placing or putting their personal interest above the overall interest of the Republic.
So the agency that you head as a Director General, Internal Audit Agency, how are you contributing to this fight against corruption through your functions?
The agency has a network of internal auditors across the country. And these internal auditors are expected to ensure that public institutions respect the corruption laws of this country. Now, we don't leave the internal auditors alone. The Public Financial Management Act has also established statutory institutions called audit committees, which are chaired by independent chartered accountants and auditors at the various levels, so that if there are any of such corrupt acts happening in state institutions, you get the internal auditor raising the red flags through the audit committee to the internal audit agency. The challenge the agency has is that we do not have prosecutorial powers. So once we get wind of this irregularity, infraction, or abuse of office, we relay it to the appropriate institution that has prosecutorial powers, so they prosecute it. So at the moment, the agency has a number of memorandum of understanding with prosecutorial institutions to facilitate prosecution of public officers who violate the corruption laws of this country. So that is how far the agency can go. We are gatekeepers. We prevent the things from happening. We ensure that control systems are working, so that in this country, I always say that if we want to prevent abuse, misuse of public office, and also misuse of public funds, the best thing for us is to strengthen internal audit, because the internal auditors are well placed to check and prevent these things from happening. Once the internal audit system is weak, you get these things happening, and then we spend a lot of money, a lot of energy chasing the horse after it has bolted out of the stable.
Confirm this for me. The last time I checked, the Internal Audit Agency, that's your institution that you had, through your work, had been able to retrieve a little over 600 million cedis that could have been lost by through corruption.
You're right. We are even going beyond that. At the moment, the Internal Audit Agency, through the network of internal auditors, are ensuring that public officers declare their assets. So now it is a mandatory trust area for all internal auditors across the country to check whether the institutions in which they work, the heads of or those who are supposed to declare the assets and liabilities have done that. At the moment, we have been able to secure an arrangement with Parliament to be discussing the audit committees of the institutions ahead of time before the Public Accounts Committee sits on the Auditor General's report. Because at the moment, Public Accounts Committee is sitting on the 2018-2019 Auditor General's report, which is 3 years back. But the internal auditor submits quarterly reports. So if we really want to prevent corruption, we have to work with the internal auditors so that Parliament will get a first-hand information of what is happening and prevent it from happening, so that the external auditors report that normally comes 3 years or 4 years after the harm has been caused will be a thing of the past. So at the moment, we are really putting a check on the system, and I think very soon people in this country will see what internal auditors are doing. The challenge is that the law supporting internal auditing in this country is weak, and currently there is a new internal audit service bill that is being worked on. And while that bill is passed, we would be able to properly position internal auditing in this country to be able to prevent some of these excesses from happening.
Wow. So had it not been for your vigilance and doing your work effectively, we would have lost over 600 million cedis to various infractions. Yes. The taxpayers' money gone.
That is so. And now they are even checking more. They are advising, and they are gatekeepers, actually.
I see.
Had it not been internal auditors, the irregularities and infractions Auditor General will be reporting would be more than that. And I must say that when you compare the 2020 irregularities to the 2019 irregularities, that of MDAs has reduced, that of MMDAs reduced by 34%, and that of tertiary education also reduced. So gradually we're reducing this, except that the legislation is weak, and that is the area we are working on.
Dr. Odrosai, thank you for your time this evening, and we can only wish you well and continue to do your work to save us all losing money through corruption in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Great. That's Dr. Eric Odrosai, is the Director General of the Institute, that's Internal Audit Agency, joining us there, doing their work to save us revenue through corruption, sealing these loopholes. Thank you for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. We appreciate your company as always. Join same time tomorrow. We're back at 10 p.m. On behalf of the rest of the team, do have a good night. I am Alfredo Kansi.